and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 356. Woo! As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hi, Saturn. We've been trying to start the show for several minutes, and it has not been working.
Yeah.
Because of jokes. We don't really have any housekeeping.
But sign up for the Patreon so that you can get the uncut episode of this, because you just missed 20 minutes of just nonsense. Complete nonsense.
We do have that. You can do that. I'm like not over it. I guess like I keep wanting to like go back into it, and now I'm like, no, Justin, it won't make sense for the regular listeners.
We left off right in the middle of a great joke setup.
It'll be lost.
I know.
My week, I think I've discovered. I think I've discovered the perfect genre for the Steam Deck.
Okay.
And it is strategy games. Because I'm on record as a known strategy game enjoyer.
Yes.
It's on my permanent record. And I can't get them to get rid of it.
Keep asking the principal if they'll remove it.
So I installed Warhammer 40k Gladius, which is a 4X game.
Yeah.
It is very, very much Civ, but the only way to win is war, and it's got only Warhammer factions.
Okay.
Which pretty much it's like if someone was like the
opposite of what I want in a Civ game.
Yeah, if someone was like, "Hey, well, what could we do to make a Civ that Saturn would never even consider playing?"
Yeah, pretty much.
And they're like, "We could do this." Anyway, so I was playing that, and I really wasn't looking to get into it. Mm-hmm. I was just looking. I was like, "Well, let's try a strategy game, like a PC exclusive strategy game, because I love strategy games, but I don't love sitting at the computer for 8 hours to play them." One, my computer is upstairs. It's kind of away from my family. There's not a lot of natural light. And just being like crammed up in the corner at my computer is something that I will do continuously for my entire life if no one stops me.
Yeah.
But I need to go be near my family and have a life.
Right.
And so the Steam Deck, in my head, I'm like, this is a great way to play strategy games, not at the computer. You know, especially stuff where it's like, oh, I want to play Civ, but I don't really want to play it for 6 hours at the computer.
Right.
Because it's got, one, I can put to sleep at any point, you know.
Which is nice.
It's so nice for games like this. Honestly, just having because my main computer is also my main work computer. It's what I do all my show research on, so I do my regular day job on.
Right.
And so sometimes gaming on it just kind of sucks.
That's fair.
Because it's pulling double duty.
Right.
You know, I have to be cognizant of what I'm doing on it. I have to be cognizant if I'm on my Steam Link, like what did I leave open in the background? Just having a PC that is literally dedicated only to games and is really not functional for a lot else.
Right.
It really does make a difference as far as like product categories in my life. But it worked really well, this 4X game. And so I think I played about 12 hours of it so far.
Nice.
I've done a couple full campaigns, really enjoying it. And it got me very excited because I'm like, this works great because the touchpads work great as mice. And the back buttons, the extra back paddles, I guess. I don't know what to call them. They're not triggers, but they're not really buttons. Anyway, having 4 of them means that I have enough buttons that I can feasibly map all the useful functions in a strategy game to the controller.
Nice.
And it also has the touchscreen. So I've been playing Gladius. And I tried to do the same thing with my Steam controller on my Steam Link. I was like, I want to play strategy games from the couch. But one, strategy game UIs are not built to be on a couch.
Right. They don't have that 10-foot experience.
You're too fucking far away.
Yeah, I tried to play Civ 6 on Xbox the other day, and even the Xbox version of it is a little awkward to play on a TV.
And then the trackpads on the Steam controller, they're just not good for mouse movement.
Right.
The trackpads on the deck are way nicer.
Nice.
Way better. They work great as a mouse.
Nice.
And so then I went down a strategy rabbit hole. Next, I installed, fully modded, and updated my favorite RTS of all time, which is Dawn of War. because in my head I was like, well, 4X works because it's just slow strategy. I mean, I could really just do it with a touchscreen if I wanted to.
Right.
It's just inconvenient. Let's try something a little faster. And in my head, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to feasibly play a fast-paced RTS with the deck, but I'm going to try it. And it took me a little bit of mapping, but I can play Dawn of War at full steam, full speed, totally fine.
Yeah.
And it's actually reaching a point where I kind of prefer it that way compared to a keyboard and mouse, because I can map button chords that do multiple things. And so then I went and I was like, all right, this is great for my old strategy games. I'm very excited now. Dune Spice Wars just came out, which is a highly complex game. Well, it's not out. It's in early access.
All right.
It is a 4X with RTS elements in it. And even that works great. So at this point, I'm like, I've played probably 30 hours of strategy games this week. I'm so excited to have a dedicated system for strategy games that only exist on PC, with viable mouse input, with enough buttons to map everything I need, with a sleep function.
Nice.
It's so good, Saturn. It's great.
Nice.
I'm very excited by this. I also just started Galactic Civilizations 3.
I've played 2. I haven't played 3.
It was just in my library, and I was like, well, I'm going to play this because I'm doing the strategy games now, and it also works great. Nice. I'm very, very impressed with how the controls map and how quick they are, because that was my problem with Steam Big Picture mode, is getting controls mapped kind of sucks. The UI just sucks.
Yeah.
And mapping the deck has been great. So I've played a ton of Gladius, which if you like Civ, but you hate everything but war, and you like Space Marines, great game. Dune Spice Wars has been just awesome. It's like day 3 of early access, and it's still a little choppy. There's some rough edges, but the whole core experience is already there.
Yeah.
And it plays great, man. It's a lot of fun. It really is like, it's a 4X, but all of your troop movement is real-time strategy style. So you click and drag, you highlight your units, and you run them around. But there's none of that like RTS micromanagement, because in the game, a village is just one point. So you're not really having a micro, like, all right, you guys attack these units, you guys attack these units, like you do in an RTS. You just kind of point them at the city, and you're like, take that.
Yeah,
I want that, and then they do all the extra stuff.
Nice,
and I'm pretty impressed with it.
Nice.
They did a really good job making Arrakis feel like an actual like real foreboding place to be. Like I was fighting a battle on some like stone outcropping, and it kind of like got pushed out onto open sand, and a sandworm just came up and like ate all the guys. They're just like, you're all gone now. So if you like 4X and RTS, or if you like Dune, then that's been a lot of fun. I've really thoroughly enjoyed that. And Gladius, I've put in many hours on both of them. What have you been playing?
I've been seeing you guys chatting in the Discord this week about these strategy games. And it made me realize that there are very few strategy games I really get into. And when I think back on a lot of the strategy and simulation games from PC from the 90s and early 2000s, I always seem to think about those games as if they have this air where they're smelling their own farts, where they're like very prestigious titles, Whether or not they are is another question. Whether or not they were even marketed as such is another question. But that always was the vibe that I got from them. Yeah. And I don't know why it was that always shied me away from it. It always made me feel like I was not smart enough to be able to handle these, so I just avoided them. But I keep seeing you guys talk about them, and it makes me want to try some of them. And I don't know if I have that ability.
Dedication.
Yeah, a lot of it is I just get really overwhelmed by too many instructions too early, which is also what steers me away from a lot of tabletop and board games.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like if the rules are overly complicated or hard to understand, I have trouble with it. I was just today was like, hey, I want a strategy game, but I want it like easy and casual, and I want all the micro taken out of it, and it's stuff like Heroes Hour and Circle Empires and stuff like that, and even like Galactic Civilizations 3. Like I know it's an extremely in-depth game, but just sitting down and playing it is pretty. You figure it out in like 10 minutes of just kind of poke. I skipped the tutorial, so I was just poking around, and I figured it out.
If those games have a good tutorial, I'm usually become a fan of them, and if they don't have a good tutorial, I turn away pretty quick.
If I cannot play a strategy game without having to play the tutorial, then I won't play it. That's what I've learned about myself.
If it is a game that absolutely requires the tutorial and the tutorial is boring or not engaging, then I will turn away unless there is someone who can teach me how to play it that I know.
Like, if I can learn how to play the game by getting in it, hovering over stuff and reading the tooltips and kind of piecing it together in my head, I'll play it. If it's more complicated than that, and they're like, no, you have to read the tutorial or you can't figure it out, I'm like, I just won't. I'm just not going to do it.
I'm really bad at figuring out games just from the tooltips. At least that kind of game, anyway. You give me like a platformer, I'll figure it out. But with a strategy game, anything that is that in depth, even if I have really good tooltips, really good navigation, and the icons are very clear, I'll have no idea what any of that shit does.
Yeah. Now, the byproduct of me learning strategy games like this is that sometimes I'll play them for years
and then learn that they have something other than combat
and not know about. Well, no, I mean, why would I care about that? But I'll learn that there's some like big subsystem in the game that I was totally unaware of, and people are like, "How the fuck did you play the game without that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just always have." Like, I didn't.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So I was playing around with Game Pass because I'm in that weird in between games area.
Yeah.
And there was a Game Pass quest for this game called Gorogoa. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, that's the one with the weird eyeball for the cover art, right?
Yeah, and it's from Annapurna Interactive, who makes all those adventure games that I just generally don't care for. Mm-hmm. But I tried it just to get the quick free points, and it's a pretty good puzzle game. It is weird and it makes my head hurt after a little bit, but it is a good collection of puzzles. It feels more gamey than most adventure games, which is what I want. That's my complaint about most adventure games, is they feel more
There's not a video game in there.
Right. It feels like a story that I am occasionally interacting with or clicking on. Or at best, it feels like a one of those hidden pictures books where you have to find the objects. And that's not my thing. I don't want that. Yeah. Whereas this feels like it actually does have some layer of gameplay. And it's mostly just about manipulating pictures so that sometimes they intersect with each other in an unexpected way to create a new picture. Mm-hmm. And it is neat. And I was trying that out. And then I fell back into Star Ocean 4, which is the only Star Ocean game I've not finished. And I don't know that I'm going to because, man...
That good, huh?
It's that early Xbox 360 era where everything wanted to... they were so impressed with their ability to create cinematic sequences and voiceovers and everything that they felt it needed to be the whole game.
Yeah, it's called fluff.
There's a lot of that. Yeah. And and I had first tried it on my my Xbox, since that's what I was already playing on. Yeah. And then I put the console to sleep and walked away like I normally do when I'm playing games. And when I came back, it comes back to a message that says, controller was disconnected, account was signed out, returning you to the title screen.
So there's no quick resume.
Not only just no quick resume, but if you put the system in sleep mode and wake it up, even if you didn't change apps, if you're still on the same app, because it thinks you disconnected the controller, it returns you to the title screen.
Yeah, so that's an immediate uninstall candidate for me.
Yeah, that was... so I turned that off and went over to the PS4 version, which is updated in 4K and has some nice new features. And it supports sleep mode, so that was helpful. So I might pick away at it, but it's a struggle.
For you to be like, yeah, there's too much fluff. That's something.
That's a sign, isn't it? Also, some of the voice acting
saying it's too wet.
Some of the voice acting is so bad, man.
That 360 era voice acting was rough in general,
right?
Because all of a sudden we had the storage capacity for everything to have full voice casts, and then
but not the budget for
it. Yeah.
I did play around with GeForce Now because my phone carrier gave me a free 6-month trial of GeForce Now. What do they call it? The preferred or exclusive or whatever the fuck they call their premium
Turbo
package.
Gold, Turbo Gold Edition.
So I tried that, and first I still had to wait to log into a game, which feels like it is not much of a premium if I'm still having to wait.
It's a premium wait. You're in the premium line, Saturn.
Right?
No, you're in the Fast Pass line now, is how this works.
Right. And they even referred to it as Fast Access Premium or some shit. Mm-hmm. And it's not. It's just... it's the same, and there was a little bit of a delay, but it was fine. Like it didn't feel quite as responsive as Stadia or as xCloud did for some reason. And maybe I just got a bad connection that day, so I'm not gonna completely chalk it up to that. But what bothered me is the whole draw of it is that you have access to your Steam library, right?
Yeah, obviously.
And of the 700 games in my Steam library, it recognized 100 or so.
Now, to be fair, publishers keep pulling their shit off of GeForce now.
Which makes it less and less worthwhile.
It makes me wonder why NVIDIA's even still going with it.
Right.
Like, just let it die.
What was most frustrating was right after I was done playing with it, I was like, well, let me try a game on Stadia to see if it is my internet connection or if it is the GeForce connection. And I saw a game on Stadia that I got from promotion or something that was like, oh, that's a good one. And it wasn't on GeForce Now. So let me play that for a minute. And I load it up, and the first thing that it shows when you start the game is plays best on GeForce. And I was like, oh, come on. That's just dumb. But so no, I'm not super impressed with GeForce Now.
I really have no idea what they're doing over there.
Me either. It's kind of sad. Because the premise is great. Being able to play your existing Steam games through cloud, that's great. I'm a fan of that. But there's so few supported that it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And then, since I just needed something to play for a while, I caved back and went back to Saints Row the Third because it has been upgraded for Series X. So I'm playing the Series X version.
Now, are you on the Series X version? Okay, so Saints Row the Third got a remaster. Mm-hmm. Are you on the remaster? Or
yeah. So the remaster was released for Xbox One and PS4 and Switch, right?
Yes.
And they have since upgraded that version to a free upgrade to Series X.
Okay.
So because I have the disc for the Xbox One version, it did the whole smart delivery thing and bumped me up to Series X. Mm-hmm. Which looks nice. It's very pretty. It's got the ray tracing and bullshit. So the lighting is all very nice. However, it is a game that was not designed with any of that in mind.
Right.
So it looks weird a lot of the time.
So it's less of an update and more of just a cross-the-board upscaling.
Yeah, well, so the remaster was already a little bit of an update. So it made it look a little bit better, and it just took that version and added better lighting, is what I can tell anyway. And it's weird. And because it's a game that I've played on, I want to say 3 different console generations now. Because I played it on PS3, and then I played it on a PC that was a little bit better than a PS3, and now I've played it here. Yeah. And so it's weird to see a game that I played back then in, better lighting, but still with like roughly the same models.
Right.
However, it's glitchy. Man, is it glitchy. I fell through the floor a few times. It hard crashed to my Xbox's dashboard.
Saturn, don't say that. We just recommended this game to people like 2 episodes ago.
I know. And it's painful to say this now because it's got this current version of it has some bugs. I would say
what sucks is I've played a lot of the remastered version.
Did you?
On my 1S. Yeah, that's the version. I've played a lot of it, and I had none of these issues.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It must have been in the update to
possibly to
next
Series
gen.
X. Yeah, because I clipped through the floor several times. My favorite, though, my favorite glitch that kept happening, because it's hilarious and it perfectly fits with the game's vibe, is sometimes characters would load in before the vehicles that they were in. So I'd be driving down a road, and for some reason the car would just pop in, not moving, and the driver would be standing on top of it looking confused.
And then he would teleport into his car and keep driving.
No, he would just sit there.
Oh, he would just keep him?
And other cars would run into it because they would expect it to be moving. And it was so great. It was the best part of the game, hands down.
Helpful glitches.
Yeah.
Let's do the news. Commodore 65 prototype sold for nearly $50,000.
Yeah, so for people who aren't familiar with this, Commodore had released the VIC-20, which I believe had 20K of RAM in some configuration. Then they had the Commodore 64, which had 64K of RAM. They had the Commodore 128, which had 128K of RAM.
Right.
And then they announced the Commodore 65,
which had 65K of RAM.
Had 128K of RAM.
Okay, then why? Okay, I don't understand.
Because it's the sequel to the Commodore 64.
Right, but that implies that they made 63 previous Commodores.
Maybe they did.
You know, I always wondered where Samsung got their fucking naming scheme from. And I'm glad to know that it's from Commodore.
Yeah, so it was announced and never released because the Amiga was released instead and it did well enough.
Right.
They were like, maybe we don't need a Commodore 65. But a handful of prototypes have been found over the years, and this one was found and sold for nearly 50K. And it's so weird to see what looks like a second-gen Commodore 64 with a 3.5-inch floppy drive built into it.
Weird.
It's just so weird.
Shining Force 2, Sonic Spinball, and Space Harrier 2 added to Nintendo Switch Online Plus. So
Shining
you can
Force
play
2 is
those
a great
now.
game.
It is.
That was a very solid game.
Did we do an episode on that or the first one?
I think we did the first one.
We did the first one because I knew the second one was so good we'd never go back to the first one
That's
if
true.
I played that one. That's
Yeah.
what it was. And then I never played the second one.
Good for you.
One day, original Siphon Filter games have been re-rated by the ESRB, so you can play Siphon Filter if you want to for some reason.
So it looks like this is for the upcoming PlayStation Plus expansion pack.
Oh, okay. So
So-
it's probably just re-releases.
Yeah, and since then, some data has been found showing several other PS1 games getting brand new box art for PS5. So it looks like they're going to release each one as a standalone app that you can install, rather than there being like some Nintendo Switch Online style thing where it just has all of them in there.
I mean, if it's all just on a service where I don't own it in the first place, why not just put it all in one app?
That's a good question.
You know, like if you're like, oh yeah, you got to buy them separate. Okay, yeah, please make them separate.
Right.
But if, you know, they're basically doing the Nintendo thing, but just packaging it in a worse way.
Yeah. Maybe they'll sell them. Who knows?
Siphon Filter was one of those things that I never got. I never got that.
Yeah, it was never my thing.
I don't get it. Quake receives new maps and new accessibility features a mere 25 years after release.
It's good that they're still adding things to it, and this is obviously to the new re-release of it. It's not for the original version,
Right.
But it is good that they're adding things to it.
Fans have developed hardware and software to allow for trading Pokemon from the first two generations over the internet.
We're in the future,
Was this
Justin.
not already possible? Could GBA or Game Boy emulators not do?
Emulators could.
Oh,
This is the hardware.
I see.
Yeah.
People are plugging their OG Game Boys into an internet-enabled device and trading them online that way.
Correct.
Now, let me ask a silly question.
Okay.
And this is going to be a tangent. Because I personally own a device that I can connect to my Digimon. And I can battle any other Digimon by sending a code to that device from my computer, and that device is handmade to plug into my Digimon.
Okay.
So if you're making basically what they've done is they've made a device that can send whatever code needs to be sent to send a Pokemon.
Yeah.
And the device just takes that data that it's received from the internet, translates it into the signal it needs to be, and puts it in the Game Boy.
Right.
Why not just make a device that you can just program a Pokemon and then send it to your Game Boy?
I think they've already had that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that part had been previously figured out, and now they've made it to where you can actually do the multiplayer part.
Okay. I see. Well, because it says trading. I'm assuming you can't battle with this technology.
I don't think it's fast enough for battling.
I guess it wouldn't be. It'd have to be pretty consistent.
That's
fans have developed hardware and software
the
to
one you
allow.
just did.
Oh, never mind. Ubisoft reportedly considering a buyout from investment groups.
Yeah.
God.
You know, the investment groups can't do any worse than Ubisoft is already doing.
I guess. Yeah. I'm just the buyouts.
Yeah.
The buyouts lately.
It's getting absolutely insane.
I mean, granted, I don't give a shit about Ubisoft, but come on. Lego and Atari announce an Atari 2600 Lego set, which I presume will be similar to the NES Lego set that they did. Hopefully it won't be, what was that, $350?
It is estimated to be about the same price.
Oh, man, that's a lot of money for... I mean, I guess Lego people that know that that's...
They know what they're getting into.
Yeah, but that just feels so rich for my blood.
Yeah. I bet it'll look adorable, though.
Oh, yeah. Fans make a Game Boy D-make of Elden Ring.
Good.
Right now, I believe it's just been shown off.
Right,
I actually would play a Game Boy version of Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I would be excited about that.
You know, I wonder if I would be much better at it than the actual one.
Possibly. Very possibly.
I am way better at 2D games than I am at these modern polygonal games.
Well, it's one less dimension.
Exactly.
That you do worry about. Sony to require full-price games to include timed trials for PS Plus Premium members.
Yes. So now any game that retails for $35 or more that is released on PlayStation will be required by Sony to include a timed trial that the PlayStation Plus Premium subscribers will have access to.
Even if it's a single-player game?
Yes. So
that's weird.
So there has already been some pushback from the indie community, which granted, indie games are rarely $35 or more.
Right.
But a lot of them are like, if we gave people a timed trial of our game, we're essentially giving them our game.
Yeah.
And that is a concern. It's a valid concern.
For sure. Well, see, Sony sees that Microsoft is courting all these indie devs for Game Pass, and they don't want to do that.
Right.
But they want them on their service, so they're just going to fucking force it.
Yeah.
Is what they're going to do. Apple to forcefully delist any apps that haven't been updated in at least 2 years.
And a few days after this, Google announced literally the same thing.
Great. Just all that, just gone, all those games.
Yeah.
There are actually a lot of mobile games that I used to play that haven't been updated, and I have some older Android devices that can still run them.
Yeah.
And now they're just going to be gone, so that's nice.
Well, if you already bought them, you'll still be able to download them. Just you won't be able to purchase them or download them for free if they didn't have a price, if you don't already own them.
In my head, I'm like, all right, they don't want to host all this shit. That makes sense.
Right, but they are still hosting it because they're still letting people download.
Yeah, they're still hosting it, and it's not like they're out of space. Google hosts YouTube. I mean, come on. How much of YouTube could get deleted and no one would even know?
Right.
Yuji Naka has taken Square Enix to court over prematurely releasing Balan Wonderland. Apologizes to fans. Wonderworld. God dang it. Again, got me again. Apologizes to fans for the game's state at release.
He also was throwing some shade. If I remember right, he said something like Square Enix does not care about game quality or something like that.
I think we've kind of figured that out with their statements lately.
Right? So I think it's not much of a surprise, but it is a little bit of a surprise to see such a prolific developer saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Especially a Japanese developer. You don't normally see that over there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Arc System Works announced a Western release of River City 3 Kingdoms. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, it does look adorable.
Oh, it's going to be great. I've not looked at any of the promo or marketing. All I've seen is just the announcement and stuff, but I'm very excited.
I looked into it enough to see if it actually was a tie-in to the Three Kingdoms video game, which it absolutely is not. Koei Tecmo has nothing to do with this. So it's just based on the story that game is based on.
Yes. So that's very exciting. And then the other one, the feudal Japanese one, they released that in English in the Kunio-kun collection.
Nice.
So it's a good time to be a River City fan, of which there's just me, I think.
It's like 12 of you.
And that brings us to the topic at hand. This week we're talking, I guess, bad video game box art.
Hold on, sir.
I flipped through some of the box arts we're going to be talking about,
and I've good.
They're actively renamed the episode.
No, these are this is great box art. First of all these are just clear signs of perfection.
This was a tough topic for me because I'm the one that thought it up, I believe, on After Hours. I was like, let's do video game box art.
Yeah.
And then after we did it, I was like, oh, I don't really know any. Growing up, none of my games had boxes.
See, I was the weird kid who would just stare at my NES cartridges and look at the label art.
NES games, I could talk about the label art all day long, but for whatever reason, Super Nintendo and N64, I don't know if it's because the labels were smaller or what, I didn't really pay as close attention to them.
A lot of those also, with Super Nintendo, was usually pretty one-for-one. But for N64 and Genesis, they would truncate the art quite a bit for the label. And a lot of N64 games only had the logo on the cartridge and not the actual box art. So I could understand that.
And then by the early 2000s, when I was really buying my games new, box art was a lot less fun and exciting.
I don't know about that. I've got some good examples from that era.
I'm excited for it. As far as synopsis, video games used to come in these like cardboard containers, and you had to physically put them into your game console. And sometimes they had pictures on the front of the.
Only sometimes, though. Let's not forget the entire run of the Master System.
I mean, obviously, where every time I see the Master System, it just looks like a Photoshop mistake. Someone was like, "Oh shit, we accidentally shipped every Master System game with no background," and they're like, "Oh fuck, tell them you did it on purpose."
Sometimes it feels like whoever was in charge of marketing for the Sega Master System in the West, they really wanted a job selling Photoshop. Like they wanted to be able to sell word processors. That was their dream in life. Was what if I too could sell accounting software? And instead they were put in this division where they were told to make video game box art, and they're like, "Fuck, what am I supposed to do?"
So let's talk about what makes good box art. Because I feel like we need to bring it up before we get into the rest of the topic.
Yeah.
Obviously, it should be attention-getting.
Yes.
It should be... See, here's where you get into a tricky territory. Because I want to say it should be somehow representative of the experience that is in the box.
Yeah, so there's a conundrum. Because with a film, you can show a still shot from the film. And everyone who watches that film will see that still shot at some point during the film, right?
Right.
With a game, you show a screenshot of a game, there's a chance that the player will never go to that area, or that they will never have that power-up, or whatever it is. So you kind of have to sell the experience more than just a snapshot of one moment of it. And it makes it a little bit trickier to properly sell the product.
Well, especially in earlier gaming, you saw it a lot in like Atari era stuff where the box art would be, which if you've not seen, Atari games have some fantastic art for the covers. There's some really great Atari covers.
There's some real awful stuff too.
Yeah, but the issue is it's almost like the art is part of the game experience.
Right. Well, the game was so abstract.
It was so abstract that a lot of times the box art would be telling you
what genre
you're doing in the game, because at the end of the day you're just moving a fucking dot through some squares and you're like, I don't know, what is it? And you're
it's
like,
just a bunch of bleeps and bloops. And so you gotta assign something to it.
Just these old blocky games. and so it was almost this like prescriptive thing where it was like, hey, we're prescribing you this experience. In Missile Command, this is the experience we want you to feel like you're entering into, even though at the end of the day you're just kind of moving a cursor around a screen and clicking on some dots.
Right.
But that does kind of it goes against the idea of it should be representative of the game. But then obviously when we get later, it's there's that era. And I think, because in my head I was like, man, I can pick stuff, but it's going to all be NES games. And I'm going to talk about some NES games.
Good.
But at the same time, NES was in that kind of in-between spot.
Right.
I feel like a lot of Super Nintendo stuff was really kind of more homogenous, a little more stylized, a little more representative of what it was trying to sell you.
Sometimes.
But on the NES, it was still abstract enough.
Well, in the very, very early NES, they were so proud of the graphics because it was such a huge step up from Atari that they literally just showed game footage on the cover. Like all the black box games are just game footage on the cover. And that was enough for those games. But those games are also incredibly simple. And as games got more complex, they ended up having to abstract themselves again. And because of that, the covers started to get more and more grandiose, and they exaggerated more.
Right. Most definitely. Yeah. Let's talk about bad box art.
Well, first of all, bad box art is my favorite box art.
So here's the thing. I feel like there's two camps of bad box art. You have the camp of this is totally unrepresentative of what is going on.
Right.
And then you have the camp of extremely boring tropey shit.
Yes.
And I swear to God, the next box art that is a man holding up a gun and walking away from us.
Yeah, nondescript white man with gun turning away from camera.
It's so boring and terrible.
Right.
But there's also just box art that is bad
Bland.
for a litany of reasons.
Yeah, there's the stuff that just looks like everything else. There's the stuff that doesn't stand out. There's the stuff that is just poorly designed. If you've got a design expert and they walk by it and all they can think of is how poor your kerning is, you've not sold a video game, even if you've gotten attention.
I want to talk about
kerning? Because we can talk kerning for a while.
I'll talk kerning all day long.
I know.
Kerning is like a fucking trick you can play on people's brains.
Right?
You give someone something with the kerning being off, and they'll be like, this looks weird, and I can't figure out why. I'm very upset. I don't know why.
And once you teach someone about how to spot bad kerning, it's all they'll be able to see for the rest of their life.
I want to talk about the worst spine art I've ever seen.
Okay.
And it is NCAA basketball on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, yeah. You mean Super Metroid?
Yes, because it uses the same fucking font as Super Metroid.
Yeah.
And it even looks kind of like Total Carnage.
Except for it's not red.
Yeah, no, not Total Carnage. What am I thinking of?
Oh, wait, no.
It's Total Carnage. Yeah.
I was thinking Maximum Carnage. My bad.
Yeah. That was the sequel. It was Total, and then it was Maximum. And then the third one, Extreme Carnage.
Extreme
and then
Maximum.
The fourth one, just a little bit of Carnage, because we saw that we went too far with the Carnage.
That was a prequel.
We had to dial it back. It is the worst, and as someone who spent many years going to stores collecting video games, I fucking hated NCAA basketball on Super Nintendo because the spine. And it's God, I hate it.
It's not even the game's fault, because I think it came out before Super Metroid.
It doesn't matter. They should have changed it. Let's get into some of our favorite box art.
Yes.
And we have to get Mega Man 1 out of the way.
Right. As a video game podcast that is discussing box art, we legally have to mention Mega Man.
And really, Mega Man 1 through like 3, the box art's kind of derpy.
Yeah. But
really, 1 and 2 are bad. 1 is... Okay, here's the thing. Mega Man 2 is still realistic Mega Man. He's a realistically proportioned man.
But he looks like he's dressed at least like Mega Man.
He's dressed correctly as Mega Man.
For some reason, he has a pistol.
Yes.
I'm not sure why.
But in the first game's box art, he's drawn wrong. He's drawn like he has scoliosis, and he's wearing a lot of yellow.
He's drawn like he just put on an Egger suit.
And the entire image is shrunk down and put on this, like, space grid background.
Now, all the Capcom games of that era used that frame.
Well, Mega Man 2 doesn't have that.
Right, that was after that era. But things like Commando and Gunsmoke and Ghosts and Goblins all used that same weird Capcom frame.
Well, it's dumb.
Yes.
And it's a dumb Mega Man. And then the art in the background just makes no sense.
No, it has nothing to do with it.
It's not representative of anything going on.
Yeah, I don't know how they sold even one copy of it.
Mega Man, like, 3 and 4 looked still pretty derpy, but it was identifiably Mega Man.
Definitely.
Although, I don't know what fucking enemy he's supposed to be fighting in the Mega Man 3 box art.
Isn't it Snake Man? Or Spark
Is
Man?
Is it? I guess
so.
it is. It's just like seeing the, like, realistic version of him that just looks strange.
Yes, just
and
Spark Man.
Horrible bloody skulls in the background.
Right, yeah, that's Dr. Wily's castle.
Is you know.
Yeah, it's Dr. Wily, well known for his just blood-covered castle.
Bloody skulls he has everywhere. I want to talk about Castlevania.
Oh, yeah.
Castlevania is some of my favorite NES cover art, and what I love about it is they're doing the same thing Capcom did, and you saw this a lot in NES games where, like you were saying, the company would have a coherent frame,
right,
so that you could easily identify, oh, these are Konami games.
Exactly.
And it has this like silver gradient frame around the edges of the picture.
Konami did it throughout the entire NES lifespan. Just about.
Oh yeah. But Castlevania 1 and 2, it, specifically 1, it's just awesome. It's an awesome piece of art. It's very like Boris Vallejo looking Simon Belmont with his whip. Right. But as a kid, I always thought it was so cool that his whip broke out of the frame,
right,
and covered the whole. I was like, oh man. What a badass.
And the second Castlevania just straight up steals the cover of a Ravenloft book.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you about how many video game box arts rip off D&D books.
Yeah.
Because the number is high.
Because Contra rips off art from Predator and Commando.
Yep. Also, Guardian Legend, which we talked about in our Guardian Legend episode, was some of my favorite box art of all time. So cool, but a straight up ripoff of a movie called like Creature or something that. But man, very cool. But that was one that I would take out just to look at the box art of. Yeah. And totally loved that one.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about Mylon's Secret Castle.
Oh, yeah. Early Hudson box art was not great.
I fucking love Mylon's Secret Castle box art. Because we're going to talk about... Saturn has a whole fucking list of shitty box art that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But I want to get my good ones that I do like out of the way.
Have you seen the Game Boy cover for Mylon's Secret Castle?
No. Is it different?
Oh, yeah. It's very different. Like, it has an actual logo and actual art, because like the NES cover is a cool picture of a mansion.
Yeah, it's just a cool picture of a spooky castle with really shittily drawn lightning in the top of it.
Right. Whereas the Game Boy game actually has some like legitimate box art, like somebody had to draw this. I'm not going to say it's good, but it's like properly drawn box. It has nothing to do with the game.
Right.
But it's, in fact, the little elf guy that I think is supposed to be Mylon looks like he might be evil.
Well, Mylon could be evil. We don't know. There's very little dialogue. Maybe it's a good castle of nice demons that he's killing. All right. You can't fucking rule it out, Saturn.
Fair.
I also really loved Monster Party, which was a game that scared me a lot as a kid, but just very bright, very vibrant. I feel like that's one of those games that's the cover art is very indicative of what you're getting into.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like you were saying, like Mylon's Secret Castle and Castlevania and stuff like that is a lot of like, it's just cool art.
Yeah.
Doesn't really, I mean, I guess in Castlevania you are a man with a whip.
That is true. And there is vampires.
But I feel like the art of Castlevania doesn't quite portray the tone of Castlevania, because we talked about it before. The very first Castlevania game feels like it's kind of a joke.
Parody,
like it's kind of making fun of these things.
Yeah.
And the cover art is dead serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Monster Party, I feel the like cartoony monsters on the front, which one are just drawn very cool. Yeah. The logo is drawn very cool. It really kind of gives you this vibe of, hey, it's monsters, but it's also it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
We're being silly here.
Yeah, it's monsters, but we don't want to scare off the kids.
They did. Oh, they did. I was very scared by that.
Let me rephrase that. We don't want to scare off the kids until after they've given us their money.
Yes. No, they got my money. They for sure got my money. Also, super iconic covers for me. All 3 Ninja Gaidens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just straight up VHS ninja movie covers on these NES games.
Yeah.
Full on.
Another good one that I would want to mention, which is much later than that, just because of how simplistic it is, but still gets the vibe of the game across, is Katamari Damacy.
Oh yeah, it really does. What I love about Katamari Damashi's box art is that if you're totally unfamiliar with the game, you still really kind of have no fucking idea what's happening.
Right.
You have no idea what's going to be going on there.
Yeah.
But it really does convey that tone of like, hey, this is a very special brand of weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to really lay it all out there for you, but it's going to be weird.
Right. And you may not even understand it, even as we start to explain it to you.
Yeah. I want to bring up Mario and the Mario 3 box art, which is some of the most iconic.
Absolutely.
Like, This is one of those things where I don't feel like it's great box art.
Right. So it's very bland, to be honest.
It's pretty bland. It's pretty boring. But I do feel like it is some of the most iconic, recognizable, simplistic. It conveys the tone. Oh, yeah. It's very clean. It's very modern. Well, modern for the time. It's just like, hey, here's Mario, and he's got some shit on him that you've never seen before. Yeah.
Mario has an extra pair of ears for some reason. That dude can fucking hear now.
It never occurred to me. It never one time occurred to me that when he has the Tanuki ears, he still has regular fucking ears.
It's right there on the cover, man. They're right next to each other.
I know. I just never thought about it. I just never thought about it. Now it's fucking creepy.
Then my job is done.
Oh, man. So many, again, my like if I were to talk non-NES box art, some of my favorites on Super Nintendo, Cybernator is really cool. I feel like it gets the tone across well. It's some really cool looking art. Mega Man X is some of my favorite cover art of all time.
I would say Contra 3 also had excellent box art for Super NES.
Contra 3 was also very good. The Donkey Kong countries. I feel like Super Nintendo was really good at like, we're going to show you the experience you're in for.
Right.
It may not be the coolest art in the world, but when you look at this, you're going to be like, I get what that game's going for just by looking at that.
One thing I will attack Super NES box art on is because it was landscape instead of portrait, and because they had that border on it for the Super NES branding, there was so little real estate that a lot of the box art became much more bland than it was in the NES era, or than it was on the Genesis, just because there was less room for them to really play with.
We do have to talk about the Genesis. Genesis had all the Sonic games had great cover art.
Oh yeah, that iconic Sonic 2 art with the Eggman in the background looking all ominous is just excellent. And the remake that they did of that art for the movie just recently is also excellent.
Yeah, fantastic, iconic box art. Also, just the Genesis in general had really, I feel like, really great, really vibrant box art.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A big one that sticks out for me was always Dynamite Headdy.
Yeah.
Which, what a weird game with a weird premise, but you look at the box art and you're like, one, this is cool art, and two, I get it. I
immediately know what this game is going to be.
The guy's head is on a spring and he fucking shoots it like a gun. All right, let's go. Like, you don't even think about it. You know, you're just like, this is normal to me now. I've seen it and I'm comfortable with it. I after like Super Nintendo era, I don't have a lot of box art to talk about.
I still have some that I would talk about from after that, but a lot of it starts to become a little more generic from that point forward.
And you were really kind of alluding to it with Super Nintendo, where it's like, hey, there's just not a lot of room here. Yeah. We're also getting a deluge of licensed stuff, so it's just going to be licensed art, which licensed art for a licensed game is very good box art.
Right, it gets the point across.
But I don't want to talk about it. You know?
And also, we started to see more and more sequels from that point forward. And by that point, the series was established enough that they didn't need to sell us, so they could just slap the words Metal Gear Solid on the cover and get away with it. Yeah.
And we would be, I think, remiss to not talk about Final Fantasy box art.
Yeah, which was super boring in the Super NES era.
It was. It got a little better, but has always been good branding and very iconic.
Yeah, but often minimalist. And
it always seemed kind of weird that what's his name? Yoshitaka Amano is such a legendary artist, and they don't seem to use enough of his art on the front of the game.
So it's pretty uncommon that they use his art on the covers in the West. Yeah. In Japan, they extensively used his cover.
They're all over the place.
But in the West, it was pretty uncommon, mostly because they didn't think it would sell well over here. They wanted to go for
It's better than just Times New Roman. Right. There you go.
They wanted to go for the more generic fantasy vibe over here. And I feel like they really missed out on that. When we got Final Fantasy Anthology over here was the first time it had a mono art on the cover.
Yeah. Final Fantasy Legend on Game Boy, that cover art... that's the one with the helmet and the sword and like the light shining in. That's also some of my favorite cover art.
Yeah. And it was not published by Square. It was published by Nintendo.
Yeah, I never even owned that game. I would just look up the art online from time to time just to view it. It was just really cool, evocative fantasy art.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we it disconnects a bit from the game because the game is nowhere near as detailed as that.
No. Well, what are they going to do? Put a 2-pixel helmet on there? We'll fucking buy it. Right. We're now going to get into what I'm referring to as Saturn's list. And in the notes, it's labeled some of our favorite box art.
Yeah.
And
this is some of our favorite box art. I had assumed that you were also going to throw some stuff in here. That would be some of which you did. You did just add in some of your favorite box art.
Right.
So that's great. I'm glad that we have covered that, and now we can get to some of my favorites.
Let's do it.
So
tell me about these.
All right. So first we're going to start with Phalanx, which is
for people that haven't seen Phalanx.
Yeah. So it's possibly my favorite cover art that has ever happened. Super Nintendo 92. And it's the North American box art specifically we're talking about. So it is an old dude with the banjo, and there's a spaceship in the background.
Is that... I don't know that that's identifiably a spaceship.
I certainly never realized it was a spaceship.
And on the front it says, the hyperspeed shootout in space.
Correct.
So why? Why is this man here?
So if you're not familiar with Phalanx, the game's a shmup. And I found an interview with Destructoid. They had hunted down the advertising agency behind the cover, and they talked to the guy who actually designed the cover. And the guy who designed the cover was basically like, look, they told me to just make a cover. They told me it was a spaceship shooter, and there's a million spaceship shooters on the market. And if I just put another picture of a spaceship, no one was going to remember this game at all. I needed to do something, or no one would remember this game.
Right. And I get that.
You know what?
And we remember it.
There's no chance in hell I would be talking about Phalanx in 2022 if it weren't for this box art.
I've never played it, and I've talked about it 100 times.
It's not bad. It's a very generic shmup from the era, but it's not bad. Yeah. But they also hunted down the model, the old man, and his name was Bertel Valley. Yeah.
Bertel Valley sounds like a competing store brand ranch dressing.
Some Bertel Valley Ranch. He was a volunteer Santa Claus for 25 years.
Yes.
And he owned a construction company, but sadly he passed away in 2004.
Oh, no. So, he was already pretty old when Phalanx came out by the looks of it. So.
Yeah, so R.I.P. Bertel. And there was a GBA port of the game, but nobody remembers it because it didn't have him on the cover. It just had a fucking bullshit spaceship. And no one cared.
A bullshit spaceship. Do we know... Was that his banjo, or
I don't know. They did not.
Did they give
they
it
did
to
not
him,
specify that if he brought it or if they provided it.
I love the idea that he showed up with his banjo and was like, "Yeah, it's going in it," and they're like, "Fuck it, I guess." I don't know, man.
He just shows up. He's like, "Spaceships, huh? I got this. Let me get my banjo."
Let's get into that. We've talked about these ones before.
Yes. In a prior shmup episode.
Because I remember that third box art. So please tell us about Mobile Lightforce 1 and 2.
Mobile Lightforce. So if you just looked at the cover, it looks like a Charlie's Angels game, only they're being attacked by robots for some reason.
Right. Specifically, what appear to be T-1000s with shoulder-mounted rocket launchers.
Yeah, maybe jetpacks. I don't know.
No, there's no jetpack. I'm zooming in real close.
Oh, okay, good.
They're actually firing their lasers into the ground so hard that it's shooting them up into the air.
Nice.
There is no jetpack. It's just a gun they're holding.
Yeah. So, it makes no sense because the games are shmups. The first one is Gunbird, which you've heard of.
Well, the women on the cover are holding guns.
True. I guess.
Yeah.
And the second game is Castle Shikigami, the first Castle Shikigami game.
Yeah.
Games that are not related to one another, by the way, and don't even play super similar.
What gets me is Mobile Lightforce 2, as it was called here.
Yes.
Has the same cover art.
Literally the same.
Except, hold on, entirely different redrawn background.
Oh.
the background is totally different.
I never noticed that.
Which means that someone drew this piece of shit twice.
If someone took the front layer, which was the girls,
and they're like, oh, we need to keep this fucking front layer because lady in the sunglasses looks like she's real into it. Here's what gets me. Okay. The lady in the middle is looking where she's shooting. The ladies on the sides are firing their guns in wild directions and looking ahead of them.
staring at the camera, yeah.
They have no intention of hitting anything with their weapons.
Yeah, they're just making a point at this point.
And then there's, I guess this is the European box art.
That is the European release of the second game.
Which was still called Mobile Lightforce, but they shortened it to MLF2.
MILF 2.
MILF 2. And I guess the robots won because now the T-1000s are bronzed.
Yeah.
And they're also firing wildly.
And the women are gone.
Totally gone. I presume dead. I mean, these robots would have fucking murdered them. They're not even looking where they're shooting.
Yeah. So these were published by a company called XS Games, who doesn't exist anymore. And they had gotten the rights to localize these and decided they should just give them different names. And also now they should be a series and they should be released on the same day. Nothing about this makes sense. And I love it. I love it so much. Because I was working at EB when these showed up. And I remember I opened up the box and I see both of these and I'm like, what is, first of all, I'd never even heard of this first one before. How is there already a second one? And then I looked it up in the system and saw they were both release date today. And then I look at the back and I'm like, these look like shooters. These look like old arcade shoot. What is going on here? And so I opened one up to make the shelf copy and I popped it on our little demo PS1. And I was like, this is an okay shooter. What is going on here? So I bought them both. And I
the most fascinating part is that the one entitled MILF has the women removed from the cover.
Right.
Which would imply that the bronzed robot is the MILF.
He probably is. What was the other shmup that we had talked about in an episode that had a character named MILF 2000 or something?
Oh my God, yeah, MILF 2000.
I don't remember what game it was.
Was that not Gunbird 2?
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was Gunbird 2. I don't remember what it was.
I don't know. Anyway. MILF 2000, I forgot. This next one, I swear to God, was on your PlayStation PS1 Hidden Gems list.
Yes, and I love it.
I remember you subjecting me to this goddamn cover.
Yep. So it is The Sorcerer's Maze, also 2003, also XS Games on PS1, and it's an Arkanoid clone. It's just Arkanoid, and I love Arkanoid, so I'll always play a good Arkanoid. And it is a good Arkanoid clone, just throwing that out there. Which it better be on the fucking PlayStation in 2003. They figured out Arkanoid by that point. And the cover is a wizard, and there's a couple of kids, one of which has a Walkman for some reason.
Yep.
There's some candles and a crystal, and I love it. I love this box.
There's a spooky castle in the background.
I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but I love it.
So the wizard and the girl, because there's two young kids and this old wizard, they're both obviously posing. The boy in the picture looks like he didn't know they were taking the picture.
Yeah, and this isn't a picture, by the way. It's a drawing.
No, someone fucking drew him this way.
Right, and it looks like he's trying to tune to a radio station on his Walkman.
Yep.
And he is distracted.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah, it's the
Let's talk about this next one because this is actually some kick-ass art.
Yeah.
I love the art for Iron Sword Wizards and Warriors 2.
Yes. So
it is great.
Yeah, and if people don't remember, this is the box art that was used both here in North America and in PAL regions, and it's Fabio.
It's Fabio.
It's just
the
Fabio.
I can't believe it's not butter guy.
This is years before he was the I can't believe it's not butter guy.
I'll be honest, I only know him from this cover and the I can't believe it's not butter commercials. What is he actually known for?
So back then he was known for being on the covers of romance novels. And for occasionally appearing on daytime television, I believe occasionally on soap operas, on game shows, on talk shows.
Just as a sexy man.
Exactly. He was Sexy Man Fabio, and he had the sexy voice, and he would often take off his shirt, and the ladies would enjoy it.
He should. It's literally just a picture of Fabio.
Yeah, holding a sword.
Holding a sword. Look all Conan'd out.
Yeah.
In front of, like, volcanoes.
And for those of you who haven't played Wizards and Warriors, Kuros, I believe his name is. Kuros?
Yep.
Whatever.
Is a derp.
He's always wearing armor.
100%. Yeah, full plate armor.
Full plate armor. He is never shirtless.
And always looks goofy as hell.
Yeah, he's never helmetless. He's never shirtless. And meanwhile, on the cover is just Fabio being Fabio.
This really could. This is again. I like this art. Yeah. I like this cover. It is so unrepresentative of the game.
Right.
It could be the cover for fucking Faxanadu, which also, by the way, cool cover on Faxanadu.
True. Yeah.
Battle of Olympus, also one of my favorite pieces of fantasy art. That cover art, holy shit, man. I think that one was ripped off from something too.
I wouldn't doubt that.
But it is indeed Fabio.
Yes.
There you go. What year did that game come out?
89.
Okay. This next one has come up in our Discord before.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us about Ghost Lion?
Yeah, Legend of the Ghost Lion, which is a NES JRPG from 92. And
this is also Kimco. Which other one of these was Kimco?
Phalanx is Kimco.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I guess it worked for Phalanx.
Yes.
Or I guess it worked for Ghost Lion, and so they did it for Phalanx too.
These are the same year.
Nonsense. God damn it.
So basically, it is a JRPG, and so therefore I should know it and be a fan of it.
Yeah.
And I never touched it, ever, because when you look at the cover, it looks like it's a fitness instruction tape that someone accidentally put in the NES section.
Because it's a fitness instructor in, like, leg warmer looking boots with a sports bra and a tank top.
Yep.
Holding some kind of cool kick-ass fantasy sword that goes off. We can't even see it.
Yeah, you can barely see the sword. It's mostly off camera.
And then there is a lion. True. And it is white, but we have no verifying detail to show us that it is indeed a ghost.
Right. I mean, it could just be an albino. And
it could be.
And it's really offensive to just call an albino lion a ghost.
You don't want to hurt his feelings.
Exactly.
Right.
They could kill
I've
you.
seen Powder, you know. I don't, you know.
The lions also have those abilities, by the way.
It's a deep 90s cut. I don't, and what gets me about this art is that the face almost looks like a traced over photo.
Yeah.
It looks very incongruous with the rest of the drawing of the woman.
Yes.
And it makes me think that someone could draw a woman and they're like, shit, I can't draw faces. They look stupid. I'll just trace over this picture of my girlfriend's face or whatever.
Right.
And that's what you got.
Yeah.
You got Ghost Lion.
And I don't get what they were going for, because as the prime early 90s JRPG demographic, that I am the poster child for that demographic, and I never would have even looked at a game that looked like that. So I don't know what they were doing there.
Yeah. Let's talk boob armor, because Valis 3 has it in spades.
So while we're in the subject of cover art that just features terrible pictures of women protagonists, Valis 3 exists, and the Turbo CD version of Valis 3, man, I don't know if that artist has ever met a woman.
That's...
but I would be shocked if I learned that they had, because I'm pretty sure that the woman on this box, that her neck is at least 2 feet long.
Oh, it's got to be. It's got to be. The only thing longer than her neck is her insanely long arm.
Yeah.
And then her boob armor.
Yeah. Well, also her torso is pretty long too.
It's also very long, and just the boob armor.
Yeah, she has like Madonna cone boobs built into her armor for some reason.
It's very bizarre. And I don't know why the handle on her sword is so short.
I never noticed
because she's got it fully covered up, which means it's got to be 2 inches long. Yeah. How is she holding the sword?
She's got a Stubbins handle on her sword.
Yeah, it's the pommel. She holds it on either side.
And the weirdest part is it's got 2 inlaid pictures of the actual in-game art, so you can see that it looks nothing like this.
Yeah, you can verify that this is lying to you. What the fuck is Carnage Rally?
Also Kimco. Oh, sorry, no, this is Jalico. My bad.
Oh my god.
So this was a GBA game from 2003.
Is this a racing game?
It is a racing game.
This man looks like he's been hurt.
So if you're living in Europe and you saw the cover for this, you're probably wondering what we're even talking about, because in Europe it just looks like a racing game. But for some reason...
Well, the cover here looks just like a racing game, but then it has some crazy blue-haired man photobombing it with 2 black eyes covered in dirt.
And also it looks like someone is pulling his bottom lip away from his face.
what is happening?
And I have no idea. This was one that when it showed up in the store, like I thought that like maybe somebody had like inserted a fake game, like Obvious Plant before Obvious
like
Plant
joke.
existed.
Yeah.
And I was like, what even is this? And I hand it to the other guy working there, and he's like, this can't be real. And we had to open it up and make sure there was a real game in there.
Yeah.
And I'll never understand this cover. It looks like somebody just received their first copy of Photoshop and was like, I want to see if I can do something.
Yeah.
And that was the entire meeting that went into this.
I'm trying to find this movie for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And God, what was it called? I swear I watched a movie with this exact same art. It was called like Dr. Sparkle's Twinkle Emporium or something. And it was this really primitive CG. So this is for Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys.
Which only released in Europe. We were saved from this one.
Please do not look this art up. It will scare you.
So
please.
So this company called Phoenix Games, and this is late in the PS2 era. This is 2006. This is after the PS3 has come out.
Yeah.
So it's not like there is an excuse that CGI hadn't gone that far yet. No, this is after the release of the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
This company, Phoenix Games, released several games like this. They also released a Cinderella game on PS2 that looks the exact same. And
did they change the name in a stupid way so it's like Cinderella and the story of a sneaker? Like
no,
what?
No, it just says Cinderella. But
did they think they'd get sued for saying Snow White and the Seven Dwarves? Like that's the name of the story.
I think the story is just Snow White, and Disney's version is called And the Seven Dwarves.
So they could have gotten sued.
Right. So they...
Even though those dwarves look very identifiably like the Disney versions of the dwarves from the movie.
How do the dwarves there look more human than the humans?
Those are humans?
I don't know.
That one in the back looks like a troll, and this person in the front is obviously some kind of weird CG alien dressed up as Snow White to trick them.
Yeah, everything is wrong with this cover.
This is the worst. The best part of the whole thing is the clip art trees and moon.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
That are just clipped right the fuck in there. Just right in there. And then we get into weird territory, man.
This one also European exclusive, and it's a shame because if this had come out here, I would have been really tempted to buy it.
I wanna go to bat for Russell Grant's astrology here.
Okay.
First of all,
yes,
it does feature Russell Grant.
Yes,
it's his licensed game, so of course his name would be on it. And he'd be on the cover.
Hold on. It's only his licensed game in Europe. In the US, it was just called Astrology DS, and he is not referenced once.
God damn it! So he's not referenced in the game at all.
He might be. I don't know.
Okay, if he is, let me say this.
Yeah.
It's got it says astrology. It's got astrological symbols all around it,
yes.
And it's got Russell Grant looking way too happy for that photo.
He looks incredibly friendly. He sounds like he's probably a very charming person.
I don't know who Russell Grant is.
Me either, but
people in Europe, will you write in and tell us who Russell Grant is and why he would want to give us astrology?
Is he a trusted expert on the matter? Because he looks friendly enough that maybe I'd trust him.
I mean, is anyone a trusted expert on astrology? That's kind of the whole point, I think.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But you know what? If I'm going to be lied to about it, I at least want the guy to be smiling at me, okay? And he looks very friendly, is all I'm saying. And I totally would have bought this if I had just seen this in a store.
I cannot believe that Konami's best play at Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow exists in the real world.
You've seen this before, though, right?
Yes. This looks like malicious compliance from the marketing department. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, first of all, Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow is a good game. It's a great game.
You should play it.
The cover art itself is fine. It's not as good as Aria of Sorrow.
No, it's not. It sucks. It sucks.
It's fine.
Portrait of Ruin had way better art.
Yes.
Fucking Circle of the Moon had way better art. The art for it sucks.
All of the other Castlevanias have better art, but this isn't bad art. Compared to the last few games that we talked about, the art is fine.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Compared to Russell Grant's astrology.
Yeah. or Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys. It is much better than Snow White and the Seven Clever Boys.
But this is the Konami's Best Play It version.
Exactly.
Which is a DS case with the DS bar on the side, identifying it as a DS game, and the Konami logo, and the teen.
Yeah.
And then it has literally a picture of the entire box of Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, which includes the Konami logo and the teen ESRB rating and the Nintendo DS marketing bar.
Yeah, and also the spine art. You can see the spine art there.
Who the hot fuck thought this looked okay?
I have no idea, but it has always been one of my favorites.
Just take the regular fucking art and put the banner at the top that says Konami's. You know what it is? I think I figured it out. I figured this out.
Yeah.
The person working there, the graphic designer, it was his first day on the job.
Yeah.
And he lied to get the job. He just wanted to work at Konami.
Yeah.
And they go, all right.
Who doesn't?
We're re-releasing Dawn of Sorrow in our Konami's Best Play It category.
Yeah.
And so we need to put a Konami's Best and then a little Play It logo on the Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow box art. And the guy goes, all right, great, I can do that. And he goes, oh, shit. Well, the Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow box art goes all the way up to the top. Mm-hmm. So there's no room for me to put in the Konami's Best Play It bar.
Could you just clip off the bottom?
And then he thought, well, I could put it on the bottom, but hold on, internal dialogue of made-up employee at Konami in like 2004 or whatever.
2007.
Yeah. The Konami logo and the ESRB teen logo are both red, black, and white, which is the same colors as the Konami's Best Play It banner. So if you put it there, it's going to muddle the design. So the only feasible way to do this is not cropping the art Saturn, you dummy. It's to just put an entire photograph of this DS game on the cover.
And, you know, I had always hoped that someday Konami would have like a Konami value line and re-release the Best Play It version as part of the value line. Just
another banner?
Yeah, just like Inception that shit in there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I want that so hard. I hope somebody's photoshopped that. I'm sure somebody has photoshopped that.
Let me tell you what the dumbest part of the Forsaken cover art is.
Everything?
First of all, it's a zoomed in picture of a woman's face and she has a giant face tattoo that says Forsaken.
Right.
Not a good looking or well placed one. Obviously just drawn there one.
Yeah, like the woman is good looking. That's fine. But the tattoo is absolutely not.
If you take out the tattoo and just leave everything as is in the PlayStation, the Acclaim logo, it looks like a 90s alt band cover art, like for an album.
Yep.
But what gets me is the fake ass tear.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It is the fakest,
is so fake.
Cartooniest teardrop, and they made it connect directly to her tear duct.
Right. Well, that's where they come from.
So and they squeeze out at high pressure, high viscosity.
Well, they didn't want you to accidentally think it was sweat, like the rest of her head.
Why not just have it down her face a little bit?
Because then you might think it's sweat.
No, I wouldn't. This is a first-person shooter game?
Yeah, it's a first-person shooter. It was on.
Are you sure?
It was on PS1 and N64, and the N64 version has literally the same box art, but it's called Forsaken 64.
Isn't Rival Turf on Nintendo Switch Online?
I believe it is.
I think you can view the Rival Turf box art on Nintendo Switch Online, but I want to say they have different box art for it.
Oh, do they? Maybe they have the European box art.
I feel like they do because these two young boys, not intimidating. They don't look like they would be in a turf war.
No, they look like they were drama students who were just brought in off the street.
Yeah,
and
they look like bad sitcom extras.
Yeah, they look like they've actually never heard of the streets. Like
also, what angle compared to this building they're supposedly standing in front of are we supposed to believe? Like, are they bending at a 90-degree angle toward the camera?
Yeah, the camera's on the floor and they're just leaned down towards it.
I don't even, there's nothing. It's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's just very bad.
Yes.
Tell me about Bust a Move 2 here.
So I love Puzzle
because
Bobble,
there are some bad Bust a Move and Puzzle Bobble covers to begin with.
Right.
This one is fucking mortifying.
Yes. So if you have not played Bust a Move 2 Arcade Edition, it is a puzzle bubble game, and you play as cute little cartoon dragons, and you shoot bubbles at things, and it's adorable, and it has the cutest soundtrack, and it's great. But when you look at the box, it's a drugged out guy holding his eyelids open with matches. And he's in a bubble.
Inside of bubbles.
And there's a lot of him.
And then they have this dumbass logo at the top that says, "So addictive, it should be illegal."
Yeah.
That would be a perfect slogan to have above a picture of Bub and Bob holding bubbles, looking really aggressively serious.
Yeah.
Like, that would be that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead, they're like, well, we need to put the bubbles on the cover. All right. Well, we need to put a man in the bubbles. Wait, what? Why do we need to put a man in the bubbles? Well, because there's got to be something in the bubbles. Well, there's nothing in the bubbles in the game. Okay, but yeah. But what if he's in it, but his eyes are held open with matchsticks, A Clockwork Orange style, and he's screaming? Okay, but why does he need to be in the bubbles at all? Well, because he does, of course. It's got to be matches, too.
Well,
it
we
can't
said
be
it's
anything
addictive,
else.
that we have to have an addict on the cover.
Also, that man could easily close his eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, those matchsticks are doing nothing.
What the fuck? I'm stoked to talk about this Pac-Man art. I love this Pac-Man art.
Yeah, so for people looking for it, it is the Atari 8-bit or Atari 400-800 Pac-Man art. And I've always loved this art.
It's so... This is them... Someone just was like, all right, we're making Pac-Man.
Uh-huh.
We need to imagine what, you know, what they did is they took these same cover art philosophies that were applied to things like 2600 games.
Yep.
And they tried to apply it to a game that is both abstract visually and by design.
Yeah.
And and this is what you get. It is the inverse of something like Missile Command's cover art.
Yeah.
Where they took an abstract thing that should never be given.
They extrapolated the abstract.
It should
of
never be given
the
realistic
real.
form.
Yeah.
And we get the lankiest, most fucked up, horrifying Pac-Man.
He looks like he wants to tell you about his sneaker collection.
What can you fucking explain to me?
No.
Why the ghosts have feet and arms?
And look lecherous?
Well, they can look lecherous. They're ghosts, okay? I imagine ghosts are lecherous.
I don't know that makes it okay.
But...
And why does it... What are these things that he's eating? Are they like... York
so the
peppermint
dots
patties?
he's eating are not round. The one thing that they did not extrapolate out to the 3D world were the dots. They decided that they're flat discs that he's eating like they're fucking cookies.
Yeah, like they're like rice patties or something, but all solid brown.
But I want to go back to this because ghosts historically do not need limbs.
True, yeah.
They serve no purpose, especially when we're talking these cartoon ghosts, sheet-style ghosts.
Right.
This would imply that inside of these ghosts is not a ghost.
Right.
It is another man, just like this man-shaped version of Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And they are lecherously seeking to touch him with their outstretched hands.
Right. Yeah,
That is what is implied.
That's what Pac-Man is now.
And what's even more scary is in a weird Goofy the dog having a dog scenario, he has a picture of traditional Pac-Man on his shirt.
Yeah.
Well, why would that exist in this world?
Maybe I don't know.
Also, they're in what appears to be some type of like
They're in
medieval
a castle
setting.
Yes. That's where Pac-Man exists, in a castle apparently.
And they extrapolate out that Pac-Man has arms and legs and a body and clothes, but they still give him this weird doofus head.
Yeah.
But then, and I get that he has eyes because Pac-Man has an eye.
Yeah.
He may have a second eye, but we don't
now
verifiably know
he has beaver
that.
teeth.
Well, I imagine what they were doing is they're like, well, we have to draw the hockey pucks he's eating. And the person goes, I'm sorry, what? They're dots. And he goes, yeah, well, hockey pucks, dots. We need to draw the hockey pucks he's eating. But he needs to be biting them with something. He needs teeth. I'm sorry. No, he just swallows the dots. Yeah, but when he's eating these urinal freshener pucks.
There was some sci-fi show that I watched from decades ago where they were given like these nutrition pucks, and they were just like this red gelatinous circle. And I can't remember what it was, but it looks like that. It looks like he was given these future nutrition pucks. And they're just floating in the air, and he is gorging on them.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. And also, why is he wearing workout clothes?
Well, we're running, man.
Oh, right. My bad.
Yeah, that's the only thing that does make sense.
Did he know he was going to be running?
Yeah, maybe they planned this. Maybe this is what he likes.
This is the sport in their world? Does he just get chased by lecherous ghosts?
Beautiful day for Pac-Man running out here today, folks. So we're going to take a look at the stadium. It appears all of the weird, creepy, lecherous hand and foot ghosts are now chasing our beaver-toothed Pac-Man through the medieval castle that we've prepared with all of the nutrition pucks that he'll be quickly devouring as he runs through the maze today. Anyway, I'd like to hand it over to a word from our sponsor. Lowry's Nutrition Pucks. When you need a nutrition puck.
Gonna have some big action going on today, Larry.
Well, we went out there and we ran hard and we ate hard and we lecherously touched people's butts hard. It was a good game. Played hard.
Does that Pac-Man have a bulge going on in his track shorts?
Oh, I closed it because it was scaring me. Oh, yeah. He got a dick.
That Pac-Man's got dick. All right.
Can we, before we talk about Dino City.
Okay.
I want to talk about how much this reminds me of a movie called Tammy and the T-Rex.
I remember that movie, yeah.
Of which there are two versions that exist of Tammy and the T-Rex.
Why?
There's the PG version, and then there's the version where the T-Rex fucking murders people.
Shit.
In case you didn't know. A little bit of Tammy and the T-Rex trivia. I'm full of it.
No.
This is just, what is Dino City about? Because, you know what? I tell you what. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess what this game is about based on the box art.
Yeah.
So the box art is what appears to be a dinosaur man wearing a leather jacket and sneakers and is nude from the waist down. Mm-hmm. He's listening to some type of futuristic Walkman that has two separate plugs for the left and right ear.
Yeah.
And he's smiling broadly at a young boy sitting on a skateboard, also wearing headphones. Oh, no, that's what the second plug is.
Yes.
It's a double headphoned Walkman. Right. Because that's where his headphones are going.
Yep.
Giving the thumbs up way too close to the T-Rex, who's not looking at the boy at all.
No.
His eyes are looking off in the distance in a kind of horrified grimace.
Yeah, he's watching the meteor that's approaching the Earth. Why does the dinosaur have human teeth?
I think this is a game, it's IRIM. I'm going to assume that this is a game about a young boy. Mm-hmm. He's on a skateboard and he's like platforming. Mm-hmm. And there's a dinosaur chasing him.
So it is a platformer.
All right.
But you play as the dinosaur.
Why is there a boy?
There is a boy.
Don't say that like that's a feature I understand the details of.
No, it's
it's a Metroidvania with Souls-like elements, and there's a boy. Just normal, the normal.
No, I don't remember the story at all, but there are children involved.
You're making it sound even creepier.
The Japanese version is all anime style, though. And it's like isekai, where like the kids get involved in the dinosaur world or whatever.
Okay, I see.
Just the U.S. cover makes it look so much worse.
Let's talk about Metro Cross.
Yeah.
This is an emoji in our server.
Yeah. It is.
It's not the languished look of the man obviously not actually riding a skateboard.
Yeah, who is totally not Tony Hawk.
It's the speed suit he's in.
Yes.
I've watched a lot of skateboarding in my time. I mean, a lot. I skateboarded for years.
Did you 80s skateboard?
I never wore or saw someone in a speed suit.
Well, clearly you weren't 80s skateboarding.
No, I was not.
It's great though. I love that cover. The game is awful, by the way. Don't play that game.
The notes just say this would be the winner if someone were to have a contest of paint the 90s.
That was for Dino City.
I want our final game here tonight.
Yeah.
We're so over on time.
Yeah.
I thought we would struggle.
My bad.
I want to talk about Dudes with Attitude.
This was an unlicensed NES game that was released in 1990.
Is it a Pac-Man clone? Because that would make sense.
No.
Okay. They're floating heads. There's a big red floating head with a mustache and an eye patch in the background looking over a beach scene of a blue head with sunglasses and a little, like, ponytail. and then a yellow Pac-Man looking head with a rad Guile flat top, rad mirror shades, and a creepy smile. And they're in front of a big box of treasure that they've seemingly found. Yeah. And I presume the red guy wants it.
Uh-huh.
And they seem to be vibrating at high frequency because there's little lines coming off of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, first of all, I love this cover art. This is the stupidest, weirdest fucking shit. Second of all, how is their hair so still if it's so windy that the palm trees are bending in half?
Well, their hair is made of plastic.
And third of all, what the fuck is this game about?
What if I were to tell you it were a Sokoban-like puzzle game?
Oh, fuck off. Why? The only thing that would indicate that this is Sokoban is that there is, in fact, a box on the cover.
Yeah. Well, the back of the cover, fortunately, was much more descriptive.
Who is the evil red head?
I never figured that out.
God. Who is the yellow head?
There's a lot of questions here, really.
What is fucking happening?
And the best part is, the title screen has even less to do with the game and more to do with the cover. Here, I gotta send you a picture of the title screen just so that you can critique how awful it is, because it's weird. There you go.
What the fuck is happening here, man? Like what? There's more heads.
There's more heads on the title screen.
The red head is gray now.
Yeah, and they're wearing shades. They're all wearing shades, except for the bad guy.
Well, he's wearing a half shade. It's an eye patch. So what is? Oh, he has a gold tooth too.
Yeah.
What are these heads? Are there heads in the game? Do you play a head?
Yeah, it's weird, and it feels like it should be a much earlier than NES game when you look at it. Because
no,
it looks like
no, that looks bad.
Yep.
Also, someone's running that emulator with the Eagle filter. They need to turn that shit off. Hot damn.
Yeah.
This
was an unlicensed, very late NES game, and it had no right to be. But man, that box art is stupid.
This screenshot looks like a game that, like, if someone was going to have a movie where someone was playing a complicated video game in the background, but obviously it had to be something dumb and nonsensical, and they just needed to make it look as complex as possible to make it like drive home the fact that it's a complex video game for the scene.
Yeah.
This is the box. This is the screenshot they would use.
Yeah, it looks like if somebody wanted to make a demake of Baba Is You for the Atari 800, but then didn't realize how gameplay works, so they just put every icon on the screen at once.
As far as final thoughts, I don't.
What have we learned today, Justin?
I think we've learned that Dudes with Attitude is the better Pac-Man cover than Pac-Man, and Pac-Man is probably the better cover for Wizards and Warriors than Fabio was.
Yeah.
Because it at least has a gangly, goofy-looking dude.
That's true, yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm sad. I'm saddened that I'm saddened that some of this exists. Mm-hmm. But then I'm also saddened that box art is just so boring now.
Yeah, the only final thought that I put in was that I forgot to put in any bad box art.
Sad and I. No, you didn't.
No, I love the really bad box art because I feel like it has more identity than
it does.
The good or generic box art has.
I love this fucking Pac-Man. I have so many questions.
Bad. I love it.
That one's my favorite. That one's fantastic.
I think Russell Grant might be my favorite, but not box art, just people. I think he's my new favorite. I don't know who he is. I don't know anything about him. He could be a terrible human being, but just from that picture of him, I'm willing to take his brochure.
Well, if you'd like to, if you'd like to listen to the Konami's Best Play It version of the show,
where we discuss professional beat 'em and eat 'em speedrunning.
Oh God, I forgot. Then you go to patreon.com/retrowarriors and you can hear that. And I just would like to apologize in advance that you did hear it. input from me. You can also get Talking Wizards. You can join us in Discord. There's a link in the show description. We have merch. We have a Redbubble if you want to buy a sticker or a shirt or something.
It's true.
It kicks us a few cents.
Yeah.
And it's also basically free advertising for us.
Yeah, which we're okay with you advertising us. That'd be fine.
If you'd like to billboard yourself with our logos, then we would appreciate it.
We'll appreciate it more than Sony or Microsoft will. I'm just saying.
Yes, we will. And we're not going to inject them into your gameplay experiences. Right. Anyway, we do want to thank the following patrons for making everything we do around here possible, starting with Kevin Mayer.
And a Sphincter says what?
The New Craft.
A Marlian.
Retro Video Games Zone Jason.
Justin made me buy 2 CRTs.
You made yourself.
Okay.
I just encouraged the behavior. Todd Bass.
Puff Puff, please.
Blackened.
And Jurgen.
Are all the patrons we want to thank for sitting through us while we, in audio format, describe box art to
now,
you.
Quick question, and people who have downloaded this already know the answer. Which one is going to be the cover art for this episode?
See, I was thinking Pac-Man, but I also might go the last one, Dudes with Attitude.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
I don't know. I do need to remember to zip all these up and put them in the Discord.
Notes?
So if show notes would be good too. I'll probably just drop in the Discord in the topics channel and pin it.
There you go.
So if you want to come just download a zip with all these files, then you may do so.
You don't want to just flood the chat with a bunch of images?
I mean, I do that anyway, but it's usually of more mundane things.
Right.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.